Hello, I'm James Preston and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks, a 20-minute focus on FYI Resources. Now, FYI Resources Limited is an Australian-listed resources company that is focused on developing innovative and vertically integrated high-quality, high-purity alumina for use in various high-growth tech applications. Roland Hill serves as the Managing Director of FYI Resources. Mr. Hill holds extensive experience in resource industry, finance, investment, and funds management, and he also holds the insight for FYI Resources for today. He joins me now. Roland, welcome to Kalkine.
Thanks very much, James. Yeah, that's a very impressive introduction. I hope I hold up to the interview nicely. Thank you.
I'm sure you'll do just fine, not a worry whatsoever. Well, Roland, let's start pure and simple here. FYI recently signed a binding term sheet with leading alumina producer Alcoa. Could you please outline the benefits to FYI of the deal?
Yeah, glad to. Referring to your introduction, we've been on a development pipeline for this quite an unusual and very high margin product, high purity alumina or HPA. We've been developing that for about 4 years and have got it to a point where we're very, very comfortable with it. We're very optimistic about the product's future within the marketplace. But there's a big step between developing it and commercialising. So what we did is we went to seek a big brother, a partner, and we found that with Alcoa. Alcoa separately have been developing some HPA aspects, not to the point that we had, but they're very optimistic about the future as well. So together we collaborated in developing a little bit of a pathway, and then ultimately through their due diligence, they're very technically astute, very detailed group, obviously a very large one with large global reach. So it made sense that we partnered with a group like this. So it's following quite an extensive due diligence process that they ran. We ended up signing this term sheet just recently and embarking now on a fairly rigorous development plan to get into production. So a lot of work going on behind the background with both companies working together collaborative to develop this process. But what it means to FYI shareholders is that we lower our risk profile considerably and obviously improve our prospects of getting into production in a more diligent, more rigorous, process-driven manner other than what FYI could probably deliver. So what are Alcoa bringing to the partnership? Well, obviously a lot. Starting with the fact that they're contributing about $240 million US to our $250 million forecast capital. So obviously we're just about fully funded. They bring all their expertise, all their disciplines, all their process, all their structure, their global reach. Just to give you an example on that, marketing is a key aspect to this whole process. So, they have a big marketing department that we can leverage off. They have existing relationships with tier one groups globally so that we can access them as well. Obviously, we've been developing our own customer base, and that's fairly extensive as well and fairly developed. So a combination of FYI's agility and technology and the know-how coupled with Alcoa's size, distribution, operational experience makes a lot of sense. So I think the FYI shareholders will benefit immensely in the development of this, and we both hold a great view about the prospects of the industry, the HPA industry, and its growth, both in terms of its production and supply. We see that there's some great metrics going there, and we're aiming to be a material producer jointly in that market. So I think FYI will benefit directly from that arrangement.
No, it sounds like a very harmonious partnership and one that your shareholders will certainly enjoy too. Anything that removes that little bit of risk always music to the ears. I think that's safe to say. Now, Roland, as well, we do have another thing that FYI is working on at the moment. You're about to commence a pilot plant trial. What would you say the importance of this trial would be to FYI?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a significant importance. Obviously, we're still in the development phase. I suppose there's still improvements to our process design sheet. We did release a DFS earlier this year that set out a great set of fantastic economic numbers. We are aiming to achieve that, and the best way to do that is through demonstration of our process, along with the partnership of Alcoa to support that work. But the pilot plant itself, it's probably our third process run that we've done. So it's a number of in line with our development process. It's contributing to all our knowledge and our understanding of our process. We're looking at a couple of key technical advances that we've made over the last 12 months. We're going to incorporate that into the pilot plant as well. And key to it all, as well, is it's an extended pilot plant, so a little bit different to what we've done in the past. We're aiming to produce quite a lot of mass products so that we can get that to our customers. Unfortunately, we did have to delay it a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but that's probably a positive thing for us. Doesn't slow down our process. But indeed, what we're doing is looking forward to getting into production, I think on the 16th or 17th of this month, October, and then following our development schedule, produce quite a lot of volume and get that to the customers, which we've had a lot of requests for this product, and we're just going to service their inquiries and make sure that the assessment process continues so we can get ultimately lead to some offtake agreements. So it's quite a significant thing, and we're looking forward to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, on the subject of products as well, we know that FYI does have quite a close relationship with 4N, but can we just talk a little bit about 5N? This product seems to be increasing in importance more broadly. Where does it sit within FYI and your priorities?
Yeah, again, a good question, and this pilot plant will support us in that. 4N is our target market, so 4N is described as 99.99% purity, so 4 nines. 5 nines is certainly becoming more and more evident in the market, and we're getting a lot more requests for 5 nines, so 99.999% purity alumina. And we've done a lot of development work around the 4N. Obviously, that's been the bulk of our development work, but 5N is becoming more and more of an inquiry level. So we've spent a lot of time developing the 5.9 grade. We haven't actually achieved that at pilot plant level, but we've not produced that yet. We haven't produced a significant enough quality to test. Hopefully, through this pilot plant test run, we'll be able to achieve 5.9. That's a high hurdle that we're going to aim for. Hopefully we can get there. If so, we can see that this will bring out another bigger, broader development market for us. And the benefit there, I think, is that whilst it's harder to achieve because it's the margin of error is very, very thin. Whilst it's difficult to achieve, the sales price, the margin on that is attractive, and that's what's driving us to develop a 5N market. We see in the market, the whole HPA market graduate from 3 nines a couple of years ago to 4 nines currently now as a target market, and obviously 5N. So it's all customer driven, and if we can address that market, we'll certainly like to do that as part of our broader development plans together with Alcoa.
I think it's quite interesting to go into the depth behind the 4Ns, the 5 nines, the shift from 3. When it comes to clients and people that are taking on board your product, what are the sort of the applications and the properties of having that extra N in there? Is there different things they can use the alumina for?
Yeah, well, it's actually a good question. It's probably what drives our development. It's what's driving the market, and it's simply the customer demanding a better quality, more efficiency, our high performance type products. So the applications that it typically goes into LED lights, and the key thing that's driving it at the moment, I think, is electric vehicles and the application in the lithium-ion batteries and other batteries as a separator coating. And so safety, so performance of the battery and the safety of that particular item within the vehicle itself is key. So the higher the purity, the higher performance, the higher efficiencies, and the higher safety. So it's one thing to have a development around a commercial element, but the fact that it has safety elements to it as well is a key driver for us. And that also leads into a whole lot of other suite of potential investment opportunities as well. So once that's developed, we see that the market will do a lot more R&D around 5.9, so we'll see various applications increase as a result. So the market itself is growing at around about 22%, 5.9 market. So quite a high growth rate. We will see that continue. Currently, it's a very difficult market to service in terms of supply, the supply side. So we'll hope to address that. Once it's addressed, I think the application will broaden out, and we would be happy to be a part of that. So.
Absolutely. Now, as part of your new deal with Alcoa, I'd imagine this has potentially changed the way that FYI conducts its own marketing approaches and in general your logistics, everything. Realistically, it's a huge deal. What would you say that FYI's product marketing approach is, and have we now seen a change moving forward?
Yeah, yes, and again, a very good question. Yeah, certainly FYI over the last 4 years, we've been focused on two things. One is the development of the 4N target market and dabbling on the 5N as well. But we've also been splitting our time with the market outreach and approaches to customers and the assessment of our material. So I suppose our efforts have been split a little bit by that, the sheer fact that we have had both activities going on at once. Now with Alcoa and a bigger brother, a broader structure and more resources, we can still focus on our development, but also spend a lot more time on our marketing. They have quite a large team and will be focused on that. So yes, there's definitely a step change, a massive change, in fact, in terms of not only our innovative process development, but also the marketing. So we'll see that it's sort of a bit of hand in glove with what we're doing and what they want to do, and together collaborative. I can see that bonding will improve the strength of our business model. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've certainly talked about the harmonious approach of this new partnership. It really does seem to be falling, as you said, hand in glove and working alongside each other very collaboratively moving forward. One other thing that FYI has mentioned is downstream opportunities. This has been something that's been tallied about in the recent months. What would you say exactly for those who aren't across this? What does it entail?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, a good question. Really, at the end of the day, building a good product, a 4N product, is one thing. But then, where do we sell it? What are we actually trying to achieve? And I suppose that ultimately, the selling of the product in whatever form or fashion is really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do. There's a standard market for it. We see that we're addressing that, the LEDs and the lithium-ion markets, for example. But there's a whole array of other applications where we see that this market can be applied to. So, and the growth aspects that drive from that. So what we're doing is spending a lot of time in developing little niche projects. Development projects at this point, but we do see that they'll lead into commercialization. And the one we announced just recently was with Echograph and the HPA coating of anodes for lithium-ion batteries. We see that there's a huge growth market in that. For example, we're spending a bit of time developing that, but we do have other things. We're focusing on coating of the separator materials, and quite a few other bits and pieces. So we kind of see that there's a lot of opportunity, and we're very keen to see this continue because it'll all add up to ultimately to higher volumes and be over and above of that 17 to 22% year-on-year growth. So we want to be a material player on that, and we want to cover that market appropriately.
There's a lot of opportunities there. I just want to focus on one, and that's namely the EV market. We've seen that explode in recent years. Tesla now becoming one of the wealthiest companies in the world, pretty much off the back of their incredible series of vehicles that they've brought out. We've seen Toyota now coming out with hybrids and then shifting into purely EV vehicles. Even Porsche now dabbling into it. So is this quite a large market you're seeing an opportunity for FYI Resources?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, indicative of the growth and the uptake globally on electric vehicles is the Tesla's performance. It's been quite incredible, really. They're probably the leader in the market, but by no means are they going to be the sole EV producer there. We'll probably see a lot more uptake along with not only the pillar companies that you mentioned, the Porsches and the Toyotas and the Fords, but there'll be development of other companies as well. I think this all leads to the fact that the world is absolutely embracing electrification or e-mobility of vehicles. And we're a significant player within the battery space. So, I think we've hit a point where the market's not being pushed anymore. It's being pulled along, where consumers are actually going out of their way to adopt this new e-mobility process, and we're getting sucked along with it. Everybody sort of knows about the lithium players and the graphite players. HPA is no different. We provide a very similar component into the battery material itself. The componentry of the battery, up to about 11-12% of the battery's mass can be HPA, depending on the technology. And so we're just seeing this massive uptake from consumers that needs to be supplied by a consistent, high purity, high quality supplier. And that's where we see our niche in that market. It's addressing that market.
Absolutely. Well, that is where the 5Ns certainly come into play, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Roland, there's also been a few interesting developments to do with other HPA providers, but one thing we always like to focus on is how does the one that we here at Kalkine are discussing with very closely, and that is, of course, FYI Resources. So how are you placed against other competitors to create value for your shareholders?
Yeah, and again, the key to shareholder interest, absolutely. It's a great question. Certainly, there's quite a few peers that we see that in the marketplace. There's an array of various different processes and different approaches to the production of HPA. We don't see that there's necessarily a competition as such, because there's probably quite a lot of room for other players in the market to address the demand that's forecast to come. That demand, by the way, is sitting around about 30,000 tonnes per annum today, but by about 2028, that's going to grow to about 100,000 tonnes. So certainly the supply side there will be a shortage there. But the advantage that we think that FYI has, our process over other companies, I think that's where we see the key. Certainly the innovation that we've had, the demonstration of the production of the high quality, high purity material consistently and reliably, I think is the key. It is a difficult product to make, so making sure that you are there when the customer wants you to supply makes absolute sense. And that's why we've partnered with a company like Alcoa, so that we can demonstrate not only reliability and durability, but we've got the balance sheet backup from Alcoa, as well as the credibility. They spent over a year and a half in terms of due diligence, looking at what we were doing, our process, drilling quite deeply into the various aspects and technical advantages of this company. And that's why they've chosen to partner with us. So we see that we do have quite a few technological and commercial advantages in the marketplace to ensure that we can deliver upon our strategy of being a material player in the industry, not only in the short term, but certainly in the long term. And we see various pathways to take from there. So what we see today and what we see in the next couple of years is going to be quite exciting. Big difference.
Look, there are a lot of opportunities on the table for FYI Resources, that's for sure. Roland, just before we wrap up, any final thoughts you'd like to share?
No, other than, please, for those that haven't taken the time to look through our website and understand our company, I take the open invitation to have a look at what we're trying to do. We released our quarterly just on Friday, that sort of gave a bit of a demonstration about our workload, how our activity base is going. There's a couple of bullet points there, what we want to achieve this quarter. I think we're on track to make sure that it's a very exciting time for FYI. And with the development of the HPA project in collaboration with Alcoa. So there's a lot going on. We're very optimistic, I think it's probably more the word that I was after, to see that the HPA industry is going to be a great place to be. So for a diversified investment, I think FYI is certainly worth looking at.
Wonderful. Plenty of goals that are being checked off and certainly more to be added as you continue to grow. I wish you all the best. Roland Hill, thank you so much for joining Kalkine.
Thank you very much, James. You have a good day. Talk to you soon.
That's Roland Hill, the Managing Director of FYI Resources. And I'm James Preston, reminding you to stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.